I'm going to ask a few questions to the audience. Who has experienced the joys of childhood? Who's been a child now, and who is a child now, and who's been a child before? Anyone who's not experienced it? Everyone, right? Who wants, happy children around themselves? Everyone? Who's happy today? And who wants to be happy every day? I think it's a no-brainer, right? Everyone wants happiness. It's a basic human right. So I'm just going to give you some telling stats. Does anyone know how many people have been affected by COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic? Percentage number, anyone? Yes, anyone? It's close to 0.6 billion. 0.6 billion. How many people died? 6 million. Do you know how many people are affected by mental health across the globe? 1.4 billion. Do you know how many people die every year on mental health? 16 million. It's far bigger than what we've been through for the last 2 years. And it's really a huge crisis we face as humanity. And I think for educators, for corporate leaders, for politicians, they must take inspiration from the little kingdom of Bhutan. I went there in 2019. After I quit my banking life, I worked globally for 25 years to study the gross national happiness concept. And they're the only country in the world which measures their citizens with a GNH index. Ireland, New Zealand, certain countries have started a well-being budget. And I really think if we start measuring our citizens with a happiness index, we start measuring our students in educational bodies on how happy they are, we can certainly create a big inspiration wave, and that's really the need of the hour. Now, why is there a need? We've touched upon the extent of the issue globally. I think enough research has shown us that the right upbringing creates positive flourishing for children. Be it in schools or when they move into colleges or they go into grad school, post-grad, and they enter the real world. The right upbringing creates inspiration all around us. The right upbringing reduces levels of obesity. So there are multiple advantages of positive parenting. What's an ideal style? There is no ideal template. From the inspiration that I draw from the Nordic countries, which are amongst the happiest countries in the world, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, they actually teach happiness from grade 1 to grade 12. So by the time you're 18, you've studied around 300 hours of happiness as a life skill, which is gratitude, compassion, kindness, and all of it. So I think what I would say, the style should be authentic, vulnerable, flawed. Every parent has flaws. I mean, there's no point hiding it from our children. And we should live in the present. Be mindful with them and probably set aside X number of minutes in a day to talk to them without any distractions. And, there's an old adage which says, less is more even for parenting. Don't overparent your child. They don't need that. They need you to be a friend. They need you to be supportive of their dreams, ambitions. Overparenting would kill it. I think a famous philosopher called Rumi, he talks a lot about love. Love should be the only religion we must teach our children because the world needs love. If we are emotionally evolved, we'll turn out to be better leaders, turn out to be better educators, better students in any phase of life. We would be good professionally and personally when we understand ourselves, our flaws, and we also learn to love our flaws. It's not a perfect world out there. If anyone tells you that, they're kidding you. Embrace yourself first, embrace your flaws first, and then you'll be better equipped to handle the pressures of real life. I think as parents, we must let creativity flow for the child. Every child is unique. As Viktor Frankl says, if you don't know what your Purpose is, it's time you find it out. We must nurture and create the environment where the child can be creative. There's no template. I mean, there's no requirement for the child to be number one all the time or go into an Ivy League college or go into IIT or IIM. The best leaders, the change makers in the world did not go to IITs, IIMs, and Ivy League. Look around you. There are enough and more examples. Steve Jobs and more. Elon Musk. There are enough and more who didn't really go to college. And especially, we should not be pressurizing children that they must get 95, 99, 100% all the time. It doesn't work. The best performers in the corporate world were not the number one rankers in school or college. The best performers in a corporate world or in life in general were people who developed overall. They learned how to play sport. They learned how to play a musical instrument. They learned to take travel breaks. They learned to write. I don't think they figured in the top 2% or top 3% of any class. And look around you, there are enough and more examples, and research will show you that. We must allow them to develop and prosper. I think the most beautiful moment in my life was when my son was born. He's 13 now. And I think, I was working as a banker in Africa at that time, and his mother was in Pune because of the better medical facilities. And I think the moment I held him first, I think my life changed. The moment after a few months when I heard him over the phone, I was back at work in Africa, and I heard him make baby sound. That's when I broke down the first time. And I think parenting is beautiful. It's tough on most days because we should not be trying to instill our ideas and what we wanted to be into them. We should allow them to prosper. We should give them the freedom of choices. DIY, chores is very, very important. Make them do chores around the house, or the DIY philosophy where schools have. That will enable them to make the right choices as they grow up. Lend them a supporting ear, but ultimately allow them to make their own choice, because when they make their own choice, they will respect the outcome better. Always look at the bigger picture. I think it's very, very important. Give them the right tools, lay the right framework of the processes, because if you have the right process in place, they will succeed. Do not pressurize them on, the big picture, which is the goal, essentially. They will get there. I mean, someone gets there at 20, someone gets there at 30, someone gets there at 40, someone gets there even at 90. Why does everyone have to succeed at 20? Why does everyone have to have a 5-figure salary at 22? It's not important. And I think we have seen over the last 2 years what's really important to all of us. Family, friends, good health, which is mental health, physical health, spiritual health, all that is very, very important in the long run. All the money in the world doesn't ensure happiness. When the richest people die, you don't see an ambulance filled with money with their body, right? They don't leave behind money. What they leave behind for anyone is the legacy they would leave behind. What's the impact they made on the world? So instill the bigger picture, encourage them to follow the right process, and you would see they would turn out to be better adults. I think marks certainly are not everything. And I've seen it personally with dear friends. I've seen it in my own lifetime across the companies that I worked in. The individuals who were part of my teams were not toppers from IIMs. Yes, some of them were from IIMs. Some of them were from small business schools. Some of them did not go to B school. But the number one thing that helped them was attitude. The Navy SEALs, which is the prime commando force in the US, they always say they go for attitude. Go for someone who has the right attitude. Do not go for someone who's the strongest and the biggest Navy SEAL. So determine what are the tools that can create the right attitude in the children, and that would give you and them joy. As a parent, you don't know it all. Ask for advice around you, have a support group. Look around for your friends, seek advice with them. Make them your sounding board. with your child, ask forgiveness, and also teach forgiveness. It's very, very important. It happens to me when I'm parenting, and I ask my son, I think I went wrong. What should I do? And he would give me advice. And it works. Genuinely always compliment their work and boost their morale. It's very, very important. They don't have to produce a perfect piece of art, but please compliment them. It'll go a long, long way in their journey. My favorite, play their sport. So play tennis, play cricket. I played professional cricket. So sport is a way of life. I think the earlier speaker spoke about the lessons. Please play their sport, whatever helps them, tennis, cricket, badminton, anything. But please play a little bit every weekend or whenever you can with them. It's great for bonding. I think the summary of this slide is, be a happy parent. Happy parents will raise happy kids, and happy kids will become happy adults in due course of time. A little bit about my story. I'm a single parent. We've been separated, divorced for quite some time, but we do our best to raise our son and the right value system. And I think I've never asked him about his grades, and I don't think I ever want to ask him about his grades. He is good, and hopefully he'll figure out his own way in life. We instill him to be a better person, emotionally more evolved, and I think that's the key going forward. So my mother was an economist with RBI. We grew up in Bombay. I lived for 13 years overseas in Africa, Middle East, Europe, went to the US to study. I came back in 2019 because I went through a series of low points, losing my dad, the divorce, etc., and that really questioned a lot of deep points for me. And I think I just wanted to come back home, spend time with my mom, and do something that could really impact society in a positive way. So I went to Bhutan to study there. I set up a small happiness technology company. We have curriculum for schools, MBA schools. I work with companies in mental health, consulting governments. And I think the whole journey with my son is really about creating happy moments, because I don't think he's going to remember the math test that I helped him pass or helped him ace, but he's going to remember Jim Corbett, where we went in December for a week, and he would remember Sri Lanka in an orphanage, elephant orphanage that we spent some time with. So, essentially, when it's time to measure our lives in the end, I think I keep saying, make happiness the only number, because that's the only thing that will matter in the end. Thank you.